Grant Robertson.
Mr Chair, my colleague Mr Hipkins has raised what is a serious issue, because the commencement section of this bill does bring in a retrospective date for commencement, and I think just in principle that's something that we should be very careful about in this House, to have legislation having a retrospective coming into force. And I think it really does require a minister to stand up and take a call and explain to this House why it would be A, that we even have a retrospective commencement date, and B, why on an issue such as this that is deemed to be something that is okay. For clarification for members, what the schedule that's been removed says is, as my colleague has said, it's titled No Interest Charged by Loan Manager, and it says the loan manager must not charge interest in relation to any loan advance made by the loan manager in accordance with this schedule. We'll come back to some of the earlier elements of the schedule in a moment. But to clarify for members of the House what a loan advance is, a loan advance means, according to the interpretation section of the Act, all money that is advanced by the loan manager to a borrower under the student loan scheme, and student loan establishment fees charged by the loan manager to the borrower under Section 14 of the Act, which is what National introduced last year. Student loan establishment fees and any other type of fee charged by the loan manager to the borrower in accordance with a loan contract. That's basically everything. A loan advance is pretty much everything that is provided to borrowers under the scheme. So this clause being retrospectively coming into force, the repeal retrospectively coming into force, says that the loan manager must not charge interest in relation to any loan advance. That's what's now been removed. So this is an interesting change. The Student Loan Act is a complicated act. There may well be an innocent explanation for this.
I wouldn't rely on it.
But we don't know. And that's the problem with this being done through the commencement clause rather than through a process that's more open to the House. Because as we know, the subject of interest and whether interest is charged or not is obviously at the heart of the debate over the student loan scheme. We've heard that already tonight, that the Prime Minister and the current Minister of Tertiary Education have concerns about whether or not they think the student loan scheme is economically sound. They think it's politically sound, but they don't believe that it's economically sound. So that's why we become worried when we see clauses such as this included in the bill. So essentially it's removing one subclause within Schedule 5, and that is the subclause that says no interest shall be charged. Now, what this is referring to is actually people who took out loans in a certain period. So it's people who took out loans between the 31st of December 2011 and the 1st of April 2012. So we're in that period now. It's affecting people right now, today, that under this provision in Schedule 5 of the Act passed last year in this House, no interest was to be charged, because that is the situation for every borrower in the student loan scheme at the moment. So really, we do need someone on the other side of the House to take a call to explain what this means, to explain why borrowers in the current period we are in now, who had a piece of legislation that told them that no interest would be charged by the loan manager on their loan advances, that's now been taken away. If there's an innocent explanation, I'm quite sure members opposite are capable of getting up and telling this House why that's the case, and then we can get on with the rest of the debate around the title and commencement clause. But this is very different, Mr Chair, to see a commencement clause with a retrospective date in it. We have now been able to identify what that is, and it is a serious matter. There isn't much more serious with the student loan scheme than the issue of whether interest should be charged or not. The whole schedule is one that obviously relates to a specific period in time with the loan scheme, but it does raise concerns on this side of the House. If there is an explanation for it, Mr Chair, we would like to hear it. But in the absence of an explanation, we simply are left with the impression that for some borrowers, the requirement not to charge interest has been removed. And we've heard a lot tonight from government members of the House of wanting to see borrowers treated the same, wanting to make sure that people who have borrowed money are treated the same. Well, at the moment, if you're resident in New Zealand, there is no interest being charged. Is this clause somehow only apply to people who are overseas? There's nothing in the schedule that I can read here in front of me that indicates that. And I think it really highlights the dangers, Mr Chair, of passing something like this under a commencement clause rather than doing it in a more open way. This is a serious matter, Mr Chair, and I would expect someone from the government to reply.
Sir William CEO.
Mr Chairman, when my colleague Chris Hipkins